What's going on, fight fans? We're going to talk about T-Rex, Claressa Shields, becoming the super middleweight champion of the world last night. She beat Nikki Adler, who was the champ and the number one ranked super middleweight in the women's super middleweight division. If you watch the fight, you would know that the fight was not very competitive at all. Nikki, said that she was going to come out and shock the world and do all these things, and she did none of those things. It just seemed to me that Nikki's game plan was to stand there and just take a beating. After the first round, I kind of thought, okay, maybe Nikki's plan is I'm gonna take Claressa into the deep waters, tire her out, and then come on strong. I.e., Ali against Foreman back in the 70s, but it was apparent to me after that round that wasn't the case. Uh, Plain and simply, I think this is what happened. I think that Nikki felt Claressa's power, and once she did, she shelled up and she didn't want to throw anything because she had fear of being countered. And of course, I picked Claressa to win this fight, but I actually went back and found a couple of fights of Adler, and I have to be very honest. I wasn't impressed. I was totally confused how this woman was 16-0 after seeing some of her fights and how slow she was and her lack of head movement. And I knew if she fought like that against Claressa, it was going to be a very bad night for her, and it was. She just stood there and put those gloves up and just took punch after punch after punch and no resistance. I mean, if her plan was to get Claressa tired and take her into the deep waters, you would think that she would have been doing some type of body work to help tire Claressa out, but she didn't. And Claressa had a very easy victory, and she should be able to fight again before the year is up because Nikki just, if she landed 5 to 7 punches, I would be surprised and I would be impressed. So let's talk about T-Rex and see what she does for here. Uh, she weighed in at about 165 pounds, so that and I know a fight, either the fight before or her second fight, she fought as a middleweight. So I know she can still make. It seems like she can still make that weight because even as a super middleweight, she's not weighing in fully at 168 or 167 and a half. So I looked up two fights that she probably could take. Uh, One fight would be Tori Nelson. Tori Nelson is an American. She is 16-0-3, and she actually has a fight next Saturday against TBA. So I'm going to take that as she'll be 17-0-3 after next week. That is a fight that they can make with Claressa. Bring it back to Detroit. Maybe do it in November if Tori doesn't take any damage in that fight. The only downside to that fight is that Tori is 40 years old, so she's past prime years, and out of her 16 wins, she only has one knockout, so she has zero power. And I think you have to have some power to go in there with with a fighter like Claressa. Uh, the positive would be that she is now the number two ranked super middleweight. Another super middleweight fight would be Maricela Cornejo, a Los Angeles-based fighter. She is 7-2, and she is a number three ranked super middleweight. Now, the only positives I could really take out of that fight is that she's 30 years old, so she is in prime years. But Claressa just basically needs a warm body in front of her, and she needs to fight again before the year is out. As far as middleweights go, uh, because I'm pretty sure my girl Christina is not going to be next. The only fight that stood out to me in the middleweight division is Alicia Napoleon. Now I don't know who she is. All I can tell you is she's from New York, and she is 7-1. And unfortunately, I just mentioned Tori Nelson. Her last fight was against Tori Nelson, and she lost that fight. But she's 31. So she's still in her prime years, and that could be another opponent for Claressa. Because right now, I'm just trying to see who could be an opponent for Claressa. But of course, at the end of the rainbow is the fight that I really want to see. And I said this in the last video I did when Claressa fought, is my girl Christina Hammer, who happened to be in the house. After the fight, she stood up, held her belts up. She got in the ring and stood directly behind Claressa, and told Claressa, that she wasn't impressed by what she did against Nikki. And after watching Nikki fight last night, with Nikki being from Germany and with Christina being from Germany, I think I see why they've never fought. Nikki didn't want to get exposed because we know Christina would have beat her. This is a fight that I do want to see. I like Christina. Christina, I know is not gonna stand in front of Claressa and just be a punching bag. She has, if you've never seen her fight, you should look up some of her fights. She has good movement. She has decent power. She is not a knockout puncher. If I'm not mistaken, I'm willing to say Christina has maybe 9 knockouts out of 21 wins, something like that. But the plus side is she's young. She's 26, and she isn't even actually in her prime years yet. And I think that would be a very good fight. Also, too, Christina is 5'11". So Claressa will have somebody 3 inches taller than her in front of her. Whether they do the fight here in the States, whether they somehow make it for more money over in Germany, I don't care. I just want to see the fight happen. Now, Claressa said that she would want that fight too. Now, she said either next year or the year after. Uh, Actually, either of those, I don't want to have to wait that long, but either of those options are not actually bad options because they are both young. I mean, in 2 years, if they fought in 20, let's say 2019, they built this fight up. Christina would just be 28. She would just be, getting into her prime years. And Claressa would be 24, not even in her prime years yet. So it would actually be a good time to do it. But if you're going to do that fight in, let's just say 2019, you have to build the fight up. And the way that you would build that fight up is you would have to start putting Christina and Claressa on the same cards, whether it's in Detroit, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in South America. I don't care where the fights are hosted. You're going to have to put them on the same cards. Showtime would have to invest in this, put them on the same cards, or have Christina fight one weekend, have Claressa fight the other weekend. But you would have to get the public familiar with Christina. I know Christina because I'm a hardcore fan, so I know who she is. But the average boxing fan would have no idea who this woman is. So you have to put them on the same cards and build that fight up. That's all I got. My girl Claressa dominated. It was unfortunately a very easy performance, and it reminded me of when Roy Jones fought Richard Hall. If you saw that fight, Roy Jones just totally outclassed him and hardly got hit at all, and just had too much for him. That's what T-Rex was for Nikki Adler last night. All right, fight fans, that's all I got. Catch y'all later.